Peace, peace, peace. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. For those of you who don't know, it's your boy Vic Slain Hope. I got another video for y'all. Today we're going to be doing another law in the 48 laws of power. And this one is law number 43. We're almost there, y'all. The judgment says, how could I forget the name of the law? The name of the law is work on the hearts and the minds of others. Now the judgment reads, coercion creates a reaction that will eventually work against you. You must seduce others into wanting to move in your direction. A person you have seduced becomes your loyal pawn. And the way to seduce others is to operate on their individual psychologies and weaknesses. Soften up the resistant by working on their emotions, playing on what they hold dear and what they fear. Ignore the hearts and minds of others and they will grow to hate you. Now, before I even get into my examples, make sure you like, you share, and you subscribe to the channel, man. Especially if you like my content, right? Doesn't hurt. Just for the channel to grow and other people can benefit from the information that I might be putting out. Now, anyway, let's get back into this, right? It says coercion creates a reaction that will eventually work against you, right? Now, an example of this, right? When you force people to do certain things that you might want them to do for your benefit, it does not necessarily work, right? Because people, they always kind of like hold on to resentment that you forced them to do certain things, right? It's almost with the people that got forced to be vaxxed, right? Some people didn't want to go that route, but they were forced to either take it or get fired, right? So a lot of those people are still resenting the whoever it was, the government, the CD, whoever. I don't know who it really was, but let's just say the government, right? A lot of people are still resenting those people because they forced them to do something. Because if they would have seduced them into taking it, people really felt like this is for the better of my health, which some people do think that, those people don't feel as mad as the people who felt like they was forced and coerced to taking this. That's just one example. Another example of this not working is like the war in Russia with Ukraine. Even if Russia succeeds in that war, the people in Ukraine are gonna probably forever hold resentment towards Russia, and they're always going to have to watch their back and watch out for attacks. Just like in Afghanistan, right? The United States was not able to kind of like fully conquer the land because there was always RPG attacks, there was always bombings, there was always stuff going on because those people resented the Americans and the invasion. So this is just a few examples of how coercion, when you coerce, when you force people to kind of like accept what you're trying to give them, it really doesn't really work like that, right? And eventually it turns against you. So let me give you out one example from the book and another example, like a personal example, about how you do this, right? So in the book, they give an example of a king, and he had an empire in China, right? And he was in between two states that was kind of like warming with him. So he had beef with the north, and he had beef with the south, and he was in between. So the king in the north launched an attack. Also at the same time, the king in the north, he had like a little allegiance with the dude in the south. So they kind of like had beef, you know. The dude in the middle had beef with the south too, you know, because you know, you're in between two people you got problems with. So what he did was he realized he could crush the opposition in the south. So what he did was he was like, you know what, I'm gonna go crush them first, and then I'm gonna wage my war on the north. But if he went and fought in the north, by the time he got back, the north probably would have already kind of like been in his territory, right? So he decided to win over their hearts. That's what he decided to do. Instead of fighting them, I mean, he did fight them, but what he did was when he captured them, he didn't kill them. And now, you know, in war, there's always this thing where, like, you know, a lot of times they kill prisoners of war, right? Or they sell you into bondage. So when he captured the people in the south, what he did was he played into their psychologies. He played into their fears. He played into their wants, right? He seduced them in a way. What he did was they knew their fate. They knew that once they got caught, it's a wrap, right? But what did he know? He knew that Soldiers, at the end of the day, after a war, they just want to go home. They just want to make it home to their families. So what he did was, he allowed them to go home. He said, I'm not gonna kill you. I'm not gonna do nothing to you. I'm gonna send you home. And he even sent them home to their family. He said, I know y'all just want to go home to your wives and your kids. And he even gave them gifts, right? So his generosity, his honor, right, is kind of like how he kind of like won those soldiers over. Now their king, he didn't accept defeat, right? He just whatever. He said, if I let you go, what are you gonna do? He was like, oh, I'm gonna try again, but if you capture me again, I'm gonna, whatever. Long story short is that eventually he ended up winning the heart of the king over too. Now, this individual was able to keep doing that. He was, he was stronger enough to do those things, right? I personally wouldn't really suggest that, right? But it was a smart thing. He understood what the man really wanted, right? Some people just want power. They just want money. They just want to go home and live. And he played into that. And when the king from the south came back to attack, a lot of his soldiers didn't really want to fight with him, and a lot of them really didn't fight with him because they already seen the generosity of this man. You get what I'm saying? So he kind of like won their hearts over. And if you don't, what is a king without his army, right? If his army is like not willing to really fight for him. You get what I'm saying? A personal example that I have, there was one time this dude, right? This dude tried to get my mans. He seen my mans with his mom. I told y'all this story before. He seen my mans with his moms and he got him jumped. No, he tried to get him jumped. He was blood. My mans was Crip. He see my mans with his mom and he tried to like get my mans jumped or whatever. My man had to get up out of there. He was with his mom. Now, this is something that happened. Fast forward a few months later, we end up catching son. We caught son that was trying to front on my mans when he was with his mom. So we cornered him. We got him. And what ended up happening is my mans gave him a pass. Like, he deserved to get his ass whooped because he tried to violate my mans with his mom. But my man chose to be diplomatic in this one stance, which was smart because my mans kind of lived in their neighborhood. Like I said, the whole neighborhood is blood. We could have still spanked them out and not really care because we was moving devious anyway, right? But my mans chose to be diplomatic, which wasn't really his trait, by the way. But he chose to be diplomatic, and he was like, I'm going to let you slide, bro. I'm going to let you live this time. You know what I'm saying? He said, I'm going to let you live. And some was like, yo, you got it. Like, everything good. Ain't no problems. A few weeks later, he didn't tell his mans about what happened. Of course not, right? A few weeks later, or a few months later, my mans encountered the same dude and his goons, right? And it was just my mans. And his mans and them was trying to act all crazy and act up. And the dude that we spared, he told his mans like, nah, bro, stand down. Y'all not doing that. Like, we're not doing that. You get what I'm saying? Like, he told him to chill out. Like, none of that happening. So the fact that my man let this dude live, right? Because what did he really want in that moment? In that moment, he didn't want to get beat up. He wanted to live. He wanted to go home. So you sometimes, and again, sometimes this shit don't work. But when you are, he probably, like, I don't know. We was ready for shit, right? But it works sometimes, right? The diplomacy works in some cases. And part of winning the war is winning it without having to shed blood. It's almost like being a drug dealer, right? Like when you watch the BMF series, right? Like how they was winning people over, it's like, yo, we all could get money. Like we getting money. We got the connect. If you got the connect and you getting the good work, you could eat too. Now, it's not for dudes to go to war and like, we could go take your corner or we can fight over the corner and we could shoot it out and do all of that stuff and it gets hot and nobody really makes money. Or I can play into your emotions. I can play into your psychological mindset. What do you really want? You out here in the corner because you really want to make money and feed your family. You get what I'm saying? You're not out here because you're trying to start trouble and you trying. No, even the stick-up kids, they're not really out there because they just love trouble and they want to shoot. No, they want money. They want to make some money. They want to feed themselves and their families. So when you play into what our people want, what are their needs, what is their emotional state, you can win them over by seducing them. I'm getting the bag. Like, what's up? We could get down together and we both can make money. Now, again, you know how shit goes. Sometimes dudes they backdoor you and they do all of that. But it's just the mindset of work on the hearts and the minds. You get further. That's what it says, right? You soften up the resistance by working on their emotions, playing on what they hold dear and what they fear. This doesn't mean that you become stupid and that you let your guard down. It just means that you get more out of swaying people into see things your way than trying to force feed it to them. You get what I'm saying? You get more out of allowing somebody to really see where you're coming from and what you're trying to do than trying to force them and rule with an iron fist. And I could use so many other examples of seducing somebody or forcing somebody, but I feel like I gave you adequate examples of it. But let me know what y'all thoughts are in the comment section. Like, comment, subscribe, share, and stay tuned. Peace.